All right, Alan, welcome to Treadstone. Awesome to have you on board. We're shooting a little bit of a video here just as an introduction. So really quickly, what's your name? Where do you live? And yeah, what are you doing right now?
Name is Allyn White, spelled Allyn, since that's the question everyone's going to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I talk to them and how they send it, it's going to Allyn, two L's and a Y. Live in Wanacue. Been doing the construction jargon for, God, pushing 20 years now. I think I'm at 18 years.
Uh,
Switched over and started doing the construction side of the insurance.
okay, so what kind of positions? Well, first of all, before we even get into your construction background, where'd you go to school? What'd you major in?
Went to NJIT, majored in electrical engineering.
All right. Has that helped
Um,
you in construction?
Not at all. I learned long ago I should have gone for business or finance.
That's an interesting insight. Yeah.
Yeah, learned long ago that if you want to go for engineering, civil or mechanical, that's what people hire.
Well, so is there anything I like to tell? I mean, full disclosure, everyone should know that, you and I go back to high school, so we know each other. But for the purposes of this video, both of us got engineering degrees. You can tell me if you agree or not, but um, I've always found that while the actual kind of like book learning part of the engineering, I'm not really using as much anymore. Maybe a little bit of the math, but a very little bit.
And
Um,
most of math.
yeah, it makes the calculations really easy, but it's really the problem solving, right? Like getting a bunch of tools and being taught how the tools work, but then being thrown into a situation where there's just kind of an infinite number of potential solutions and trying to figure out what the right one is, right?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. So
Yeah, designing a solution to the problem is about all I've ever used.
yeah, well, and to that end, I mean, like, I guess some contractors do like cookie cutter stuff if you're doing like a subdivision or something like that. But in a lot of cases, you're doing custom jobs. If it's a single commercial building, or even if it is a development, like the development's not going to look like every other development that you've done,
Right.
right? So I think that fits. I mean, I think that's going to be a net positive going forward. What kind of construction positions have you held in the past?
Oh, let's see, I started in HVAC. So I started with another friend's father who we went to high school with.
Mhm.
Doing that, I was mostly a gopher. They told me what to go for, and I went and got it.
Yeah.
So but it was a lot of manual labor for the first probably 4 years I was doing it, and a lot of digging and trenching and sawing, cutting, lifting, carrying. Um, but it was all when you're in construction. That's where you start. You are the low man on the totem pole, and that's all you do is you do the running while the big guys do the sitting and the work.
Right. So what'd you move on to
After
after that?
that, I jumped into well. After that, I went to another HVAC company doing house fans and ventilation,
Hmm.
um, and was laborer for about a year, maybe year and a half, and then the person who was in the office left, and they needed somebody with you know somebody who could put together coherent sentences when talking to customers. So they put me into the office, and that was the start of my very long operations career.
So you're saying, what's the line from Office Space? I have people skills, right?
Yes, I have people skills. I'm good with people.
Uh, so has that been most of what you've done since then? Is the operational side of the business?
Yeah, since probably 2003, I would say I've been mostly operations, doing everything from sales to logistics, ordering, employee, and HR, which is always the fun part of work.
Oh yeah, that's the very fun part of the business.
Yeah,
Uh, so
books and things like that.
So for what type of construction businesses were you doing the operations for?
I've done it for the HVAC company, an irrigation company, a um, they were like a fencing and security fencing type company, and most recently an engineering company doing corrosion control.
Okay, awesome. So um, in terms of your operational experience and now kind of what you're transitioning to working at Treadstone in more of like a risk management and an insurance capacity, what skill set do you think is going to translate or help you do what you're doing now from your past experience?
Well, so obviously being on the operation side of it, you know, we didn't call it risk management. We called it safety.
Yep.
We called it keep OSHA from watching us. Because once OSHA watches you once, they watch you for a long time.
Hmm.
So the big things that they always look for is, are your guys working safety? Are you doing things that could cause injury, cause death, cause any type of accidents?
Right.
In the large scheme of things, risk management, but when you're working out in the field, it's safety.
Right.
Um, so a lot of it was dealing with that side of it, and the other side of it was dealing with the contracts that we signed with clients.
Mm.
Um, when you're working for a PSC&G, or you're working for any of the big guys, any of the big construction companies in the state as a sub, they have insurance requirements that you must carry if you want to have that contract.
Mm.
Some of the municipalities have a specific insurance requirement you must have before you're even allowed to submit a bid.
Right.
So I always had to make sure that our insurance covered what we needed, covered what we had, and would cover what we wanted to do. So that's kind of where I first learned about the insurance side of commercial business.
Okay. What was that experience? Was that was it painful for you? Was it eye-opening? How did you find that?
Let's, you know, it, there was the interesting side to it, because as a non-owner of the company, you come to realize some of the things that a lot of guys try to do to get away with the bare minimum in the hopes that nothing bad ever happens.
Right. That doesn't
You
come
know,
around to bite him in the ass, right?
right. Like,
Yep.
you hope that you don't have a guy that falls off the ladder and winds up a vegetable. You hope that your guy doesn't drive a van down the wrong side of the road and hit somebody.
Right.
So you have the insurance that'll just eke out the minimum coverage that maybe the state requires or maybe your client requires. And it was always tough trying to be like, oh, we really need to have this piece of equipment. If this machine breaks or gets flipped over or stops working for any reason, and we are on the hook to pay for it.
Right. Right.
And that was
Well,
always tough to try and convince people that that's what how you have to look at
and those minimum limits, they don't really cover anything,
it.
right? I
No,
mean, yeah. So I think that's probably something where when I've spoken to you in the past, you got it more so than some other folks that are out there where, especially working in New Jersey. I mean, you work in how many states are you licensed in now?
now I'm in New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, and Texas. Not Virginia, Georgia, and Texas.
Okay. So, you know, some of those states, more so than others, are very litigious, right? So New Jersey is extremely litigious.
Yeah,
Um,
we would say that.
I, Payouts on lawsuits are much higher here than they are elsewhere in a lot of instances. So I think that's a good selling point too. I mean, like you understand that doing the bare minimum might check the boxes or get you the contract, but at the end of the day, it's about survival, right?
Yes,
Yeah. So
especially when you take into consideration that since your insurance is designed to cover the cost of bringing it to its previous state, a lot of contractors charge a lot more for their work than what your insurance says they charge.
yeah, Yeah, I that's funny because after Superstorm Sandy, we had that problem all over the state in New Jersey. Was public adjusters or FEMA adjusters saying that you could replace a building for $1.25, and New Jersey contractors were going, hold on there, techs.
Yeah,
Think more
well,
250, 300 a square foot.
that was the issue I ran into when my roof was destroyed in a snowstorm.
Yeah,
The roof got destroyed, and the insurance company was telling me, "Well, no, they can replace it for 5 grand." My contractor was like, "What?
yeah,
I can buy the material for 5 grand."
yeah.
And yeah, we had a third party adjuster come out to look at it, and he goes, "I don't know what the insurance company is talking about, but that ain't New Jersey."
Yeah. So that's a good point too. So I think what a lot of other people, what a lot of business owners forget is your insurance broker isn't just there, or your risk manager isn't just there to place coverage, right? They specifically show their worth when you have to file a claim and when it comes down to, say, like a dispute like that. So would you say your experience working on kind of both sides of that line now, now as the risk manager, but formerly as an entity would have filed one of those claims, that you're in a good spot to kind of advocate for your clients?
Oh, absolutely. When we a lot of times, our customer would have something at their house happen. A tree got uprooted and ripped something out of the ground, and the insurance company very often was always saying, "Well, this is what we'll do." And a lot of times I'd get the phone call like, "Hey, I need help. How do?" So I'd have to explain to both the homeowner, the business owner, whoever it was at the time, and the insurance company. Yes, that's partially true, but then we also have to do this, and there's this part of it, and we have to remove this and replace this. And normally it involved me writing out a very long letter to the insurance company with step-by-step directions and costs, and let them understand, and let the whole, let the client understand that this is what this cost is going to come to. It's not just, you don't just poke a hole in the ground and stick something in it and say, okay, it's fixed.
Right. Yep. Yeah, I know that's a good point. So I think that's going to be really valuable moving forward, because I think in most states, if you're a contractor, you're going to get hit with a claim eventually, right? I mean, it's just the nature of the job. So having someone that can advocate and speak the right language, I think it's going to be a huge,
Mhm.
huge positive. Um, all right. So what kind of clients are you looking to work with? I know contractor is a very broad term, but I mean, ideally, what you're looking for, mostly commercial or residential contractors. Um, are you willing to open your work to artisans and things like that as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, at the end of the day, if you need insurance and you do any type of sales work, or especially if you have things like equipment or things that you need to operate your business every day, I can certainly work with you. I mean, really, my background is going to I is explaining to you the value that you may not see in that 20-year-old backhoe that you've had laying around in your yard for years, or that 10-year-old van that is paid off but has some rust so you don't really think about it.
Right.
Well, the average vehicle in your fleet can earn you $3,000 a week. So are you taking that into account that that vehicle has more value than what you're applying to?
Right. All right. Not to, and I know what the answer to this is, so I'm going to preface it by saying, not to alienate any potential clients that might come across this video, but who's your favorite sports team or teams?
Ugh, you're gonna you're just trying to embarrass me now. I mean, especially after the news from today with everything going on. I'm a massive Jets fan. I
My condolences.
I defend them to the day I die, even when they're doing some of the dumbest things you've ever seen on the planet.
Yeah.
But I gotta love the Jets, and if you're a Patriots fan, I'll work with you, but I can't promise you that I'm gonna ever, respect your sports decisions.
Yeah. For anyone who might be watching, Allyn is a man of his word. You can rib him; he'll give it back to you probably just as much as he gets it. But no, he's definitely an avid Jets fan. And me being a Giants fan, I give him more than his fair share of ribbing because of it. All right, cool. So anything you want anyone who might be watching this to know as kind of a last kind of point or thing to take away?
The biggest attribute slash warning I can give you about myself is being that I've been in construction for 20 years and I've been a manager of it for about 20 years. I can promise you, one, on occasion, my language is a little saltier than the normal frou-frou white-collar businessman.
Mhm.
I tend not to blow smoke where smoke don't go. If I think you're making a mistake, I can promise you I will let you know that. I've gotten into arguments with my bosses in the past because I told them straight out, "You're making a mistake." I'm I my biggest thing is I'm a straight shooter. I try not to make rainbows where rainbows aren't being displayed.
That's good. I would say that's probably one of the biggest reasons why um, we brought you on board to do what you're doing. So with that, thank you for taking a couple of minutes. If you do watch this video and you work in the construction industry anywhere, pretty much, but specifically in those 4 states that we referenced, I know we're going to be adding licenses for other states as well as we go. But if you have anything, even if it's a question, reach out to Allyn, and we'll make sure to take care of you. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Thanks.